Eddie Kingston quits AEW last night on Dynamite amid recent comments that he's not happy in the company. We've got details on that. Plus, Powerhouse Hobbs is the face of the Revolution after winning the ladder match last night on TBS. Danhausen and Orange Cassidy are on their way to Revolution to compete for the Tag Team Championships. The House of Black have stolen the AEW World Trios Championships. Jon Moxley cuts a bloody emotional promo last night on Dynamite. Speaking of Orange Cassidy, he also retained the AEW All-Atlantic Championship against Big Bill. The Guns legitimately don't like FTR, and they've explained why. WWE opposes a trademark filed by the Ring of Honor World Champion Claudio Castagnoli. Keith Lee and Dustin Rhodes reveal their tag team name, and Fuego del Sol reveals he has 5 fractures in his foot. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrest News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. We have to start off talking about Eddie Kingston. Yes, the Mad King is no longer, I guess, in AEW, or is it part of a storyline? Well, in a shocking turn of events after AEW Dynamite went off the air, a popular AEW talent seems to have just quit the company after Eddie Kingston previously commented that he was less than thrilled to be participating in last night's Face of the Revolution ladder match. Fans actually noticed he wasn't actually even in the match that long. With the storyline playing out that Eddie Kingston and Ortiz brawled to the back and it required 10 security guards to pull them apart. This was mentioned on commentary by Excalibur during the match. It seemed to be a solution for everyone. Eddie didn't have to climb any ladders, and meanwhile there was still an amazing ladder match which we'll get into shortly. One of the wildest ladder matches we've seen in quite a while in AEW. However, now things look to be a bit more confusing as AEW posted this clip that you can see on the screen right there. Obviously we can't play it here, but of Eddie Kingston interacting with AEW backstage interviewer Lexi Nair, by which she attempts to inquire about the backstage brawl, and instead Eddie Kingston just told her he quits. In fact, he specifically said he quits AEW. She asks him the question, he faces the camera and says, "I quit AEW," and then he leaves. While it is interesting that Eddie Kingston's actual Twitter handle wasn't tagged by AEW rather than just a hashtag Eddie Kingston on the tweet, usually they would tag the actual account. AEW hasn't done it this time. It still remains to be seen what develops now. Perhaps relatedly and most likely this is part of an overarching storyline here, as Eddie Kingston is expected to feature on the debut episode of Ring of Honor, available for Honor Club subscribers today, March 2nd at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, where he was noted as having a match at the taping. It's also been speculated he's going to be facing off against Ring of Honor World Champion Claudio Castagnoli at Supercard of Honor. So we could see a situation whereby in reality we have Eddie Kingston just moving to the Ring of Honor brand permanently and no longer being featured on AEW. Not only that, he was seen reigniting a massive and historic feud with Claudio Castagnoli at the event. So perhaps Kingston really isn't done, or really is done rather, with AEW, but just not Ring of Honor, even though they're owned by the same person, they're under the same umbrella. But he quits AEW, but he's going to be, I guess, exclusive to Ring of Honor. That could be a situation, but it has generated a lot of reaction on social media as well. It was actually Daniel Garcia, or Ortiz rather, first has declared, spoke his declaration, retweeting the interview video with the caption, quote, "Taking the easy way out like always." Daniel Garcia, meanwhile, of the Jericho Appreciation Society, doesn't seem to be too upset about Kingston's apparent exit, with the former Ring of Honor Pure Champion tweeting, quote, "Used to pray for times like this." As I mentioned, he is expected to feature in Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor have officially announced Eddie Kingston for the episode this coming week. So it's led to speculation, as I mentioned, that Kingston is really done with AEW, but just not Ring of Honor. If we get any more information, if we get any more details today, which I, to be fair, would expect to see some journalists reporting about this today, explaining the details moving forward. We'll talk about it here on the channel. My speculation and my feeling is that he's not done with Tony Khan. He might just be done with AEW, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, I mentioned the Face of the Revolution ladder match. This was the match that Eddie Kingston was involved in, albeit briefly last night, after a whirlwind car crash ladder match on Wednesday night's episode of Dynamite, and a little bit of help from steadying the ladder from referees. All Elite Wrestling has a new Face of the Revolution. Powerhouse Hobbs defeated Eddie Kingston, Konosuke Takeshita, Commander, Sammy Guevara, AR Fox, Ortiz, and Action Andretti to climb the ladder and grab the massive gold ring, or the brass ring, previously held by the likes of Wardlow and Scorpio Sky. July. By virtue of his victory, Hobbs will face the winner of the TNT Championship match between Wardlow and the current champion Samoa Joe on next week's episode of AEW Dynamite on TBS. Wardlow and Joe will battle for the title at AEW's Revolution pay-per-view on Sunday, but they started fighting soon after Wednesday night's ladder match. After Hobbs' victory, both Wardlow and Joe wreaked havoc on the stage while Hobbs watched laughing. Joe, already out to do commentary, was attacked by Wardlow, leading to a massive brawl that ended with Wardlow hitting a powerbomb on a member of the security team off the stage, sending him crashing into the rest of the security team. Wednesday's match was the third AEW Face of the Revolution ladder match. Previous matches in 2021 and 2022 took place at the Revolution pay-per-view itself, but this year it took place on the Dynamite episode prior. So far, every Face of the Revolution winner has gone on to hold the TNT Championship. This year's match was also notable for being the AEW debut of Lucha Libre sensation Commander, and he performed some incredible spots during the match. Again, it's one of the wildest ladder matches I've seen in a really long time. A couple of really scary spots, particularly that Action Andretti Sammy Guevara spot where Sammy Guevara nearly broke his neck, but it's incredible. Check it out, and Powerhouse Hobbs is the winner, and I guess now the face of the Revolution. Now, this was quite a surprising one. The fourth team has been added to the AEW World Tag Team Championship match at Revolution, and it's not who you maybe thought it would be. Now, after it was revealed earlier on in the show that there would be rather a vacancy in the match because the best friends were not medically cleared to compete, it was a little murky if their pals Danhausen and Orange Cassidy would be really replacing them, after Orange Cassidy already took on a formidable foe in Big Bill in the opening match of the show, taking 3 orange punches to get the job done. We'll talk about this just in a bit later on. The duo did emerge victoriously, sending the unlikely duo straight to Revolution to get a big World Tag Team Championship shot. Joining the champions, the Guns, and taking on Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, as well as former champions, The Acclaimed, in a massive fatal 4-way match. Danhausen and Orange Cassidy will round out the field on Sunday. Again, a surprising one considering the opening bout of the show, but Danhausen and Orange Cassidy will indeed be a part of the tag team match this coming Sunday. Now, as I mentioned, it was revealed in a backstage segment earlier on in the show that the best friends, Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta, would not be medically complete to compete in last night's Casino Tag Team Battle Royale. Now, it's unknown if one or both of the best friends are legitimately not medically cleared or if it was a creative change. Again, if we get any more information, we'll let you know. It could be a case of one not being available, or it could just be a case of the plan was to always have Danhausen and Orange Cassidy in the tag team match at Revolution, and they wanted to go a bit of a different route to it. We'll have to wait and see. But seemingly, it has been confirmed, Orange Cassidy and Danhausen, they're competing for the tag team championships this coming Sunday, live on pay-per-view in San Francisco, California. Now, speaking of title matches this Sunday, of course, it's going to be the Elite versus the House of Black for the AEW World Trios Championships, but they're not currently in the possession of the title holders. On last night's go-home edition of AEW Dynamite, in advance of the pay-per-view AEW Revolution, the Elite was attacked and had their title stolen. The Elite made an incredibly blink-if-you'll-miss-it entrance before being interrupted on last night's AEW Dynamite on the entrance ramp. Just mere seconds into their now infamous Carry On My Wayward Son entrance as a trio, the Elite, that being the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson and Kenny Omega, were interrupted. After the lights went black, it was clear something was afoot, and there were strange sounds heard from the ramp before the lights turned back on to reveal the assailants. The Elite's upcoming opponents at the AEW pay-per-view, AEW Revolution, the House of Black, that being Malachi Black, Buddy Matthews and Brody King, along with Julia Hart, had appeared, and not only were they masked, but they had their bouts too. Capturing the AEW Trios Championships and holding them high, the segment ended with the Elite laid out and the House of Black standing tall. But it wouldn't be the only appearance we saw from the House of Black during the broadcast. In a later vignette, the House of Black appeared and declared they would be leaving the titles there for now, but on Sunday at Revolution they would claim them for real. As I mentioned, they will be on the line, with several people saying that the House of Black have to win to be considered a credible trio in AEW. Whether or not they'll win them, we'll have to wait and see, but a blink-and-you'll-miss-it appearance from the Elite on last night's Dynamite. Now, speaking of AEW Revolution, Christian Cage seemingly is going to be facing off against Jungle Boy Jack Perry, but not in a traditional wrestling match. Christian Cage's first match in 6 months will not be a traditional pro wrestling contest. On last night's AEW Dynamite, Cage challenged his arch-nemesis Jungle Boy Jack Perry to a fight at Sunday's AEW Revolution event. Before issuing the challenge, Cage took the opportunity to get his final verbal shots in at his protege-turned-rival, referring to Perry as a no-talent hack like his father, who should be thankful for his Hollywood good looks to get through life. Quote, "You're a dime a dozen," Cage said of Perry. "I, on the other hand, I am one of one. Unlike you and your generation treating my business like a video game, I treat my business like an ATM machine, and I'm not done milking it dry. This needs to end, Jungle Boy," Cage continued. "I've got a challenge for you, but it's not for a wrestling match. It's for a fight. No rules, no regulations, just a fight. The sad reality, Jack, is if you choose to show up, at the end of the day, you're just your father's son." Now, AEW has yet to confirm the exact details of the Cage vs. Perry grudge match. However, later in the night, a vignette aired showing Perry digging up a grave for Cage alongside a tombstone carved in Cage's name. As such, it's possible the Cage vs. Perry fight could be a cinematic or pre-recorded brawl. In fact, maybe it's a buried alive match? I don't know. Now, Sunday's match will mark Cage's in-ring return. Since his victory over Perry at All Out last September, the veteran wrestler was reportedly out of action with an undisclosed injury. He was wearing a sling for a long period of time, so it's the first time he's going to compete. Whether it's actually going to be wrestling, we'll have to wait and see. Now, speaking of Revolution 2, Bryan Danielson is facing off against MJF this coming Sunday, and he's threatened to kick his effing head in. Bryan Danielson sent a heated message to AEW World Champion MJF. Danielson and MJF have been feuding for months as the champion took out Danielson's mentor William Regal with a brutal assault in November. Danielson then had to win a series of matches against the names such as Konosuke Takeshita, Timothy Thatcher, Brian Cage, and Bandido to earn a title shot against MJF. Despite MJF's best efforts to stop Danielson, the American Dragon emerged victorious, and the two were set to clash in an Iron Man match for 60 minutes at AEW Revolution. At the end of the March 1st episode of AEW Dynamite, Danielson came to the ring to discuss the match. MJF tried to interrupt him, but Danielson talked over him in order to deliver his message. Danielson brought up MJF's promo on the February 22nd episode of Dynamite, where he revealed that his fiancée left him. In the same promo, he stated that he hated the challenger because he had a family and took it for granted. Danielson said that MJF deserved to have his fiancée leave him, and he hadn't fought for anything in his life. Danielson then stated that he has been fighting for his whole life and he's ready to fight for what he wants, and if MJF doesn't do the same, he's going to get his head kicked in at AEW Revolution. Now, the TBS broadcast censored the message, but other viewers were able to see and hear his bold words, which included a big F-bomb in front of the live audience. The line was a callback to Danielson's days of kicking people's heads in, and has widely been viewed as the best wrestler in the world in the Ring of Honor chapter of his career. During his promo, Danielson also referenced fighting the Authority during his WWE run, and the crowd chanted yes in support of the challenger. MJF seemingly was too stunned to speak, so he left the stage, and the show ended with Danielson standing tall. Whether or not that will happen this coming Sunday at Revolution, we'll have to wait and see. Now, let's talk about Jon Moxley and this incredible promo last night on Dynamite. It was actually filmed last week. It has to be seen, certainly. It's quite graphic as well. After his bloody and brutal battle on last week's AEW Dynamite, Jon Moxley went backstage and held nothing back about Hangman Adam Page. Ahead of their upcoming Texas Death Match at AEW Revolution, Jon Moxley had some choice words for his opponent, Hangman Adam Page, cutting a wild promo while still covered in his own blood, which continued to spurt out of his head. Moxley passionately explained his perspective and furthermore why he was out to inflict violence on Hangman Adam Page. And again, it has to be seen. It was absolutely gruesome, to be honest with you. We've grayed it out there because it needs to be. But certainly was a fantastic promo, and Moxley, even when he's not wrestling, he's bleeding. That's what Moxley does. Now, I spoke about Orange Cassidy earlier on in the video, and he kicked off the Dynamite broadcast last night with a fantastic match. He kicked off Dynamite this past week as he put his AEW All-Atlantic Championship on the line against the firm's Big Bill. With an intriguing match that stretched across a commercial break, included a picture-in-picture exchange between the aforementioned Bill and Danhausen, who appeared unsuccessful in cursing the big man. After Danhausen attempted to curse Big Bill again, he ended up prone into position for a big chokeslam from the challenger, but instead, Stokely Hathaway slapped Danhausen with his cast. In the final third of the match, Cassidy's offense lit up as finally a combination of two big orange punches got Big Bill off his feet ahead of a third orange punch from the top rope to finally put away the Giant. Orange Cassidy retained his title to kick off the show. I believe it was, his sort of 13th title defense is pretty incredible. But Orange Cassidy retains his title, and not only that, he was in action later on in the evening and punched his ticket for an AEW World Tag Team Championship match at Revolution. Could he leave the pay-per-view this Sunday as a double champion? Speaking of the tag team champions, the Guns seemingly have real-life heat with FTR after online buzz remains high that perhaps FTR could make a return to challenge for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. At least one star doesn't care. In a new interview with WrestleZone, Colton Gunn commenting that earlier in their careers they hope to emulate Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, the team known as FTR. Colton Gunn said, quote, "So when we got into it, we had to look at a team that we wanted to emulate and be like, and we just gravitated towards FTR. We'd ask them questions all the time and look for guidance. We respected them so much, and then we wrestled them for the first time. We wrestled them 4 times, and when we wrestled them for the first time, we were so excited. Right after that match, everything changed with us and FTR. They no longer saw us as somebody they helped. They saw us as peers, and they saw exactly how good we were. They didn't have time for us anymore, so we made it our vendetta that we're going to end their legacy, and we did. We beat them." With Austin Gunn going on to elaborate, "Yeah, I got sent a few things on Twitter that Dax was talking about us on his podcast, and it just put all of that into perspective. Shoot, me and Colton don't get along with FTR anymore backstage. So like he said, we don't care where they go. We don't care about their contracts. We don't care about them coming back. That's a shoot. We don't get along. We hate to see it come to that. I never want to bash any other wrestlers, but I think they wanted to be these guys backstage where everybody came and asked them questions, and they wanted to be the veterans backstage. And when me and Colton no longer asked them for advice, I think they took that personally. Now you can feel it backstage. We don't talk to them. They don't talk to us. I don't care. I don't care." Now, the Guns, as I mentioned, are the current AEW World Tag Team Champions. They've got their titles set to be defended this coming Sunday against the field, as I mentioned, of the Acclaim, Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, and now Orange Cassidy and Danhausen. When they talked about, shoot, we don't like them, you do raise an eyebrow. Is he working? Is he not working? We'll have to wait and see. One thing's for sure, we don't know the future of FTR right now. Their contracts are up in April, and Dax Harwood has insisted they're still currently on the fence about what they want to do with their pro wrestling careers. Dax Harwood has said his next contract is going to be his last, and he is considering all options, that being WWE, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, or just work in the indies for the next few years. What they do, we'll have to wait and see. And this is quite an interesting one. Claudio Castagnoli filed a trademark after he left WWE, but it's now being opposed by his former employer. WWE are opposing a trademark filing filed by Ring of Honor World Champion Claudio Castagnoli per PW Insider. Shortly after leaving WWE last year, Claudio had filed to trademark the term CSRO, which is Cesaro, on March 14, 2022. WWE has since filed an opposition on the trademark and inquired for a 90-day extension on the opposition on February 28. Claudio's trademark was filed with the following descriptions: GNS hats, shirts, socks, sweatshirts, hooded sweatshirts, GNS coffee, coffee beans, coffee drinks, ground coffee beans, GNS entertainment in the nature of wrestling contests, entertainment services, namely wrestling exhibits and performances by a professional wrestler and entertainer, entertainment services, namely live appearances by a professional wrestler and sports entertainer, entertainment services, namely personal appearances by a professional wrestler and sports entertainment personality, entertainment services, namely televised appearances by a professional wrestling and sports entertainment personality, providing wrestling news and information via a global computer network, providing online interviews featuring a professional wrestling and sports entertainment personality in the field of professional wrestling and sports entertainment for entertainment purposes. WWE has been very busy when it comes to filing trademarks recently, filing to trademark terms such as Zack Ryder and Ezekiel Jackson after the original trademarks had lapsed. Whether or not WWE will get this one, I'm not a trademark lawyer, so I can't say. Keith Lee and Dustin Rhodes, they're teaming up, and they've also revealed their tag team name in AEW. A new tag team has officially revealed their name after an unlikely alliance has been formed. After their mutual run-ins with the dastardly Swerve Strickland, a somewhat unlikely pairing has formed between a big returning star and a well-established legend. Returning from time away, Keith Lee has joined forces with the formidable Dustin Rhodes to form a new tag team. In a backstage segment, not only did they reveal their partnership, they also revealed their new team name. The duo of Keith Lee and Dustin Rhodes will be now known as Naturally Limitless. So I guess at some point they'll be facing off against Swerve Strickland and his Mogul affiliates. I don't know if that's been announced for AEW Revolution just yet. Maybe it will be, maybe it won't be. Maybe we'll find out this coming Friday on AEW Rampage. Finally, Fuego del Sol has revealed the extent of his bizarre injury that he suffered recently. He revealed he's got 5 fractures in his foot. Now, Fuego del Sol signed with AEW back in 2021 after his match with Miro for the TNT Championship on AEW Rampage. Now, since then, he spent the majority of his time on AEW Dark and Dark Elevation. Taking to Instagram, Fuego revealed he has 5 fractures in his foot and he'll be out of action for 6 to 8 weeks, provided he doesn't need surgery. He said, quote, "With the original x-rays last week, they confirmed the discoloration of my right foot and dislocation too. They believed I only had 1 minor fracture. After the CT scan, upon further examination, today they determined I actually fractured my foot in 5 different places. The doctor told me that the fact I finished the match is unbelievable. Adrenaline is a hell of a drug." Now let's talk about the big thing, ligament damage. The orthopedic said the main ligament around my Lisfranc bone is a little displaced but not completely separated. So now I have to go see a foot specialist to determine if it needs surgery or if it can heal on its own. If it can heal on its own, the recovery is 6 to 8 weeks because all my bones are in the right spots and all the fractures just need time to heal. But if I need surgery, it could be 3 months. So expect another update within the next week. I'm hoping for the best. Not the news we wanted. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little frustrated, focusing on my recovery and advancing my non-physical ventures like Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, IG, and content of the likes to keep me busy and my mind off this. Any love and support sent my way is appreciated immensely, and obviously we wish him the best in his recovery from injury. Again, certainly a very nasty injury and a freak accident and how he sustained his injury as well. But there you go, guys. It's the latest AEW news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner. Let me know your thoughts on today's AEW news stories in the comment section below. Remember, you can join the WN365 roster by clicking that join button, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.